Welcome back to Sprague Homestead. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I know Kanan's done a couple of these videos where he's talked about what it's really like to off-grid homestead. And I guess I'm going to give you my perspective, not only as a woman, but just being, part of the homestead, but, everybody sees things a little bit differently. So I guess the first thing I'm going to say about being off-grid and homesteading is life is hard. It really is hard. And if you think going to the country and growing your own food and doing the homestead thing is going to be easy, you're in for a really rude awakening. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. And it's a lot of failures. It really is. A lot of times things go wrong. We have had a year here that has really sometimes made me question what we are doing. And this is 5 years of being here, on top of having homesteaded a little bit in Mississippi. There are just times that things all build on themselves, and it gets to be something that really, really wears you down. So to give you a little insight as to what's been going on here and why I say I've been closer than ever to throwing in the towel, we had a pretty successful kidding year. We did lose a few kids. That wasn't a big deal. But if you've seen some of the other videos where we talked about, my excitement in getting a new Nigerian dwarf buck this year, we did go get him. It was great. This past Saturday we came out and Kanan found him down and dying. No real idea what the problem was. We did everything we knew to do and nothing. He passed very quickly. Looked a lot to me like poisoning, but there was nothing in his pasture to poison him. We have no neighbors, no bite wounds, no nothing like that. And it's frustrating, it makes it really, really tough. And then later that day, we were out watering and feeding, and all the animals on the farm were going crazy. We suspect that we have either a mountain lion or a bobcat nearby. Anyway, the scent was obviously being carried on the wind. We didn't see anything close, but the dogs were all looking in a very certain direction. And we go out to feed and water the rabbits, and one of my best bucks dead. It actually couldn't be sure of cause of death. There was a lot of play in the neck that makes me think he broke his neck. I had heard somebody in the rabbit house running around thumping, very upset. But there was also signs that kind of showed that it looked like he might have had a heart attack. So it might have been both, actually. It's not uncommon for a rabbit, in extreme cases of fear, to have a heart attack. And if he was running around on top of it, he could have seized in the heart and popped himself in the wire and killed himself. So that's been tough. Kanan mentioned in another video that we have been fighting ground squirrels. So what started out as a beautiful garden and really getting going is full of holes. We've pulled 7 ground squirrels out of the garden so far. Every time it looks like we've got them licked, here they come again. So my garden is, for the most part, the worst garden I've had here in 5 years. The first year that I was here, I didn't plant a lot, but everything that I planted grew fine. I had more squash than I knew what to do with, and beets and everything else. This year, things have come up and promptly been eaten. We've tried covering, we've tried netting. Ground squirrels just dig underneath and come up into the beds and kill them anyway. So it's been a really big challenge. Like I said, we got 6 this last week and actually got another one last night. But I was determined this was not going to hold me back. We were going to go for it anyway. And yesterday was beautiful. It was only like 78 degrees. And then this morning. So last night was supposed to be 39 degrees. That's what the forecast said. Usually we fluctuate because we're down in a valley, a couple extra degrees. And, yeah, no, not even close. We hit 28 on a forecast of 39. So the few tomato plants that I have put outside, since I thought we had, gotten the ground squirrels taken care of, don't look so good. I've burned tomatoes off pretty bad before and had them come back, so lots of water, and I will fertilize the bejeebers out of them and see if we can make them come back. But my sweet potatoes that I've worked so hard for, started my own slips this year, may be goners. And the squash that was starting to rally after everything that's happened with the ground squirrels is also looking like it's a bust. So it's been frustrating. I'm waiting to see as it warms up what the corn's going to do. I have never, and this is my 5th garden here, I have never successfully gotten an ear of corn. This year it was actually looking really good. And then last night, and if you've grown corn, you know that corn does not take a freeze very well. So I'm waiting to see. It's in a different part of the garden than some of this other stuff, and I'm optimistic. It didn't look overly burnt this morning, but I'm certainly not going to count on that. So I'm waiting to see. The plus side to all of this is that because of the ground squirrel issues, the few plants that I bought, peppers, I've got some tomatillos, some other tomatoes, didn't make it out in the garden yet. I'd been busy, and then this ground squirrel thing started, and I didn't get them out. So they're all in the greenhouse, thankfully. They're stunted because they've been in the greenhouse, and you know you really can't keep them watered enough in a greenhouse. So I do have stuff to rebuild with. The plus side is this is also going to motivate us into getting, what you can see behind me is our dome. We actually are building a second dome, so we're going to try and get that done this week. Kanan's got most of the parts put together for it, all the struts and everything cut. We use a hub kit from ziptiedomes.com. Great people. So we're going to hopefully get that together this week. We've got the cover and everything ordered for it. And all of the remaining tomatoes, including the ones that are in the garden, and the peppers are going to go in big pots, and we're going to container garden them in one of the domes and try and get them in. You know, I saw this happen a couple years ago where we had a frost every single month, and that was the winter that we got 4 feet of snow. So on the plus side of that, if we get the snow, we get the hay, because this year, of course, we've had to buy our own hay. So I'm sure you've probably seen the video that we had out. Kanan mostly filmed it where we hauled 10.5 tons of hay in about 2 days. There is a reason for that. If you've watched last year, you know we cut our own hay. This year, because there was no snow melt, the field is maybe 4 inches tall. We've been back there checking on it. The ground is just too dry, so there's going to be no hay for us to cut this year. So we do need a good snow melt. Our hay field kind of depends on that. But, you know, on top of that, on top of everything else we've had to, of course, shell out the money to buy hay. Hay prices are high this year already. We're dealing with, down here in the Klamath Basin, where we grow a lot of hay, there is some legal battles going on over irrigation right now and water rights, and they're fighting it out with the tribes. I won't tell you my opinion on any of that. I'm just going to say that simply it is what it is. But because there is a very real possibility that irrigation is going to be shut off this year, everybody that can hay is haying, and hay is going extremely fast right now. I've been seeing farms that we've bought from in the past that you know, don't produce a lot, anywhere from 5 to 15 tons, and they were selling out in under 48 hours. So we did go a little further down to Malin, and we were able to get with a very large haying company, and we got a fair price for what it's going for right now. We're seeing alfalfa anywhere from $200 to $250 a ton right now. So we got some grassy alfalfa for $180 and consider ourselves pretty blessed that the guy would load it for us. So we pretty much just had to bring it home and unload it. But that makes for some very long, very tiring, very stressful days on top of fighting ground squirrels and dealing with animals that suddenly croak. So another real setback that we've had this year, you know, I've talked about incubating, and, you know, that you can always hear our roosters and stuff crowing in the background. So, you know, we raise a lot of poultry. Poultry is what helps pay for a lot of stuff around here. Poultry and the rabbits. And this has been the biggest poultry disaster year I think I've ever had. The adult birds are doing fine, doing great. We're not having any problems there, but for some reason, and I'm not sure, I think it's probably an incubator problem. We're running a hatch rate even on our chickens at no better than 50%. And what does hatch, seems to be a survival rate of 50%. This is horrible. Usually on my chickens, I run a hatch rate of around 90 to 95% with the same survival rate. Turkeys are a little bit more finicky, but we still usually get a 75% rate. This year, I have produced, out of 2.5 months, I think we have actually had 8 turkey chicks make it, which has been really tough. So right now I have the incubator shut down. We're disinfecting and cleaning it all, and I'm going to have to run some external gauges in it to see if we can diagnose what the problem is. Birds are healthy. The eggs are looking good. We're getting them in a timely manner, and we're just not getting anything. So, been a year of real frustration. So there's a lot of things, and I know I've listed a whole list of complaints and things that have gone wrong this year. There are things that have gone right. You know, I've been doing really well in my rabbit show circuit. I know that's not something a lot of homesteaders get excited about, but I take my rabbits pretty seriously. If you've watched some of my raising meat rabbit stuff, rabbits are a pretty big deal. They help pay for a lot of things around here. On top of feeding us. I mean, they just do. Like I said, the goats are doing okay. We do have one little baby that for some reason has blinded herself in one eye. She's a doe that we were planning to keep anyway, but it is just another thing to be a little stressed out about. She's doing well, though. She doesn't seem to notice, doesn't seem to care, gets in, beats on the other goats, so it's, you know, in her world, it's all okay. And our Kinderbuck that I picked up a few weeks ago, he's doing just fine. Fat and sassy, if a little bit on the obnoxiously loud side at feeding time. So, as far as the whole off-grid homesteading, by and large, I love this life. I really do. There are some challenges, and sometimes it seems like one challenge rolls into another challenge, until you just want to pull out all your hair and scream. But there is something to be said for, you know, making your own electricity and growing your own food. And I am constantly reminding myself this year that we had a really great garden last year. And we still have a lot of good canned stuff in the pantry. And so, if this year is a bust, and it might be, potatoes are coming up. At least I'm going to have those. Potatoes and onions. You know, if it's a bust, it's a bust. You know, the nice thing is about modern homesteading is where we all want to be self-sufficient. Most of us are not in a position where we have to be. You know, like 200 years ago, if my garden was doing this bad and we were having this kind of problems, it could literally be starvation or not. And, you know, it's a big deal to me because I work hard on it, but we can afford, you know, we still have produce and stuff canned and stuff in the pantry, and if we don't, we can still afford things, and the grocery stores still work. And it's not ideal, and it's not what we chose this life for, but there it is. I mean, it still is what it is. It's only July. There's a lot of summer left. Technically, summer just started. I'm regrouping. I'm going to move a bunch of stuff. We're going to give it a try, and everything that's out in the garden, we're just going to double down on the root crops and the cold hardy stuff that I know will take a frost and a freeze. It's all I know to do. Sometimes that's what this homesteading lifestyle is about. If stuff doesn't work, you have to know when to call it and move on. When we frosted and froze in June, I muscled on because I thought, well, it's only June. Here we are the first week of July, and now that we've had another one, I saw this 3 and 4 years ago, and that means that undoubtedly within the next month we will have another one. And that means pretty much by Labor Day we will be back to freezing at night, probably every night, because that's what it did 4 years ago. And I have to go on the precedence of what I've got. So, just going to do what I know to do. We're going to buckle down and move everything. Like I said, we're going to get a second dome done. We're going to get this dome cleaned and back to running. We didn't even try this year because everything grew outside so much better. But we're just going to go ahead and get it going, get everything in the domes. We're going to go ahead and finish off the hoop house. Got so warm so fast we stopped working on it and thought we'll just run with it. And now I'm thinking the wiser choice here is going to be to go ahead and finish it. So we will be finishing this, which means part 2 will be hopefully in the next couple weeks. The sooner I get it done, the sooner I don't have to worry about it anymore. So, I guess from my perspective anyway, that's kind of the homesteading life. I know that a lot of the channels focus on everything that's good, and that maybe you get a kind of a false sense that everything on a homestead is wonderful. You know, we've been doing this, like I said here, this is year number 5, and by and large, things go really well, but not all the time. And I guess in an effort to be real with you guys, I wanted to make this video and just say, hey, if you're homesteading and you're struggling, you're not alone. We've been doing this a while and we struggle too. But don't give up. Better days are coming around, and like I said, stop. If everything is going wrong, and believe me, how we feel right now is that everything's been going wrong. Stop. Count your wins, not your losses, as we say all the time around here. And redirect your strategy. So, strawberries are doing great. We've got onions that are doing better than we've ever had. We're going to have some crops and they're going to do great. So we're going to re-strategize what's going wrong. We've got a plan in place to try and get our incubator back to running right and get our hatching back on point for the last half of the year. And, hey, we're going to keep on keeping on. So that's it for today from Sprague Homestead. Keep your chin up out there. Keep going. And happy homesteading.